Today, guys, we're getting back into real estate investing in this journey that I'm on, that I'm taking you through as well. We're going to be talking about two different techniques for investing, the BRRRR method and the traditional method of investing. So stay tuned to the end and I'll talk all about it. Hey guys, real quick before we get in that video, my name is James Dean with James Dean My Real Estate Team, and I just wanted to make sure, if you haven't done this already, make sure you hit that subscription button down below, the notification bell. What that does is keeps you notified every time we come up with a new video. We do at least 2 a week, and I just want to keep you updated and just cool things to do, cool things to see out here within the Woodland Park and Teller County area, and you get to see a little bit of how I like living my life out here as well. If you've got any questions or comments, please don't hesitate. Give me a call, shoot me a text at 719-266-2725. You can also email me at info@jdmret.net, and I will get back to you as fast as I can to answer any of those questions or comments. And if you've got any real estate needs out here whatsoever, please, once again, don't hesitate. Give me a call or shoot me that email or that text. This is James Dean with James Dean My Real Estate Team, the team leader here, and I absolutely love living here and I love helping people out here in this area too. Hope you guys like this video. Okay guys, so today we're talking about two different real estate investing techniques. Now there's obviously other techniques out there, and these aren't necessarily techniques that are new. They're not new that I'm coming up with. They're actually stuff that I've been reading about and studying and figuring out what the best method is going to be for me and my family when we start our investing venture here with real estate. So these two methods are the BRRRR and the traditional method. So if you've not heard of BRRRR before, you'll probably be familiar with a lot of the concepts on it, and we'll get to that one last. But David Green out of Bigger Pockets, he's also a real estate agent, but a massive real estate investor throughout the United States. And you hear about him all the time. He's written multiple books. He's the one that coined the BRRRR method and basically put it on paper so that we can all understand it in layman's terms as well. But we'll talk first about the traditional method because that's probably the method that most people are most familiar with. And then we'll start contrasting to what the BRRRR method looks like as well on there. So your traditional real estate investing method that you're looking at just being that investor that's going to be saving up anywhere from 20 to 30, 40% to put down. You're going to get an investment type loan on that piece of property, and you're going to own that property outright for a long period of time, where you're going to be looking for cash flow to come back on that. Now, this is the most common and probably the easiest for most folks to get into because you're not having to save up a ton of money in the sense of having to buy it all outright with cash, but you are still having to go out there and present that 20 to 25%. Traditionally, it's usually about 25%. Sometimes it's 20% if you can get a conventional investment loan, but you're still going out there and you're fronting that cash out there as well for that. And when you're doing that, you're putting 20% down. So we'll say like on a $400,000 home, you're putting $80,000 down on that home, and then the rest of that's going to be rolled into the loan. And I'm not adding in all the different additional costs like closing costs, any inspections, any of that stuff into it. This is really just 100% on what the basics, the big chunks of the money are on this, so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from on these as well. Now, most people, when they get in real estate investment, are going to do just that. They're going to get into that traditional method of real estate investing. Now, any kind of investing, any kind of money venture where you're actually putting money down to earn money on that is always going to be a risk. I mean, it's a risk in the everyday life that we do with going to work. If you were to lose your job, you would then lose your ability to probably get money from that job, unless you had some kind of short-term or long-term insurance that's on that, but that's still even very finite as well. So there's risk in everything we do. And the traditional way of doing real estate investing, in my opinion, it starts off not feeling as risky, but the more you get into that, the more risky it could get, just because you've got all your capital basically tied up directly into that investment engine. And as you start to get cash flow coming in, it's all great until it's not, i.e. vacancies or, God forbid, another pandemic type event where our wonderful government that comes in to save the day decides that they're going to come in and say, okay, tenants, you don't have to pay rent. There's a rent moratorium out, so you don't have to pay rent because we know you're going through hardships. Oh, but by the way, homeowners, real estate investors, you're still paying your mortgage on there because the mortgage company still wants their money on it. So now you're not getting cash flow coming in when you've got somebody living in this home. So you're not having anything to substitute or subsidize on what's going on with the mortgage itself that's coming through. So, and it became very risky for quite a few folks that I know that had properties during the COVID timeframe that actually ended up having to declare bankruptcy, had to sell those properties just to get out from under them because they were going to go foreclosure on them because their tenants were living in them. They didn't have the additional cash to be able to have that emergency fund in there to pay for that time to kind of get them past that. And they ended up having to get rid of those properties. So the good thing about traditional is, and this is a pro on it, is that you can basically get into a traditional style investing as quicker than you can most other styles. So you don't, like I was saying before, you're not having to save up $400,000, you're having to save up $80,000 to basically get into that investment style on there as well. So that's something that lots of folks look at. And there's other ways to actually get into a traditional style investment that could get you in to pay a lot less. You could house hack on there as well. I've got clients that have done that too, where basically they're buying that residence as their primary residency. They're getting a primary residency interest rate on it, a primary residency loan on there, so not paying any more interest rates or not having to pay anything more down to. They can do as little as 3% down at their VA. They could do no down on that. And then they're going to live in that place for 2 years. And what they're going to do is rent those additional bedrooms out to help pay their mortgage down. Lots of folks do that for house hack. At the end of the 2 years, they then move out of that home and go do the same thing with another home, and they turn that other home into a investment or a rental at that point. That's another way to use that traditional style. Now, if we look at the traditional style, the chances are you're going to be able to invest as quickly as you can. You might be able to do 1, maybe 2 homes a year, depending on what your income level is and your ability to save that type of money, what kind of cash flow you got coming into it. You're going to get into homes a lot quicker, but it's going to be a slow, steady incline on that graduated scale as you continue to get more and more properties. Now, the BRRRR method is different, and this is something that I wasn't really understanding and didn't know that I didn't understand this until I actually started reading David Green's book, BRRRR, which is a great book. If you haven't read that yet, I absolutely recommend it. It is kind of long, but it's very detailed, and it'll walk you through all these steps in much more detail than what I'm about to provide them to you now. And he has a great analogy, and it's in the first 100 pages. In fact, I want to say it's around pages 30 or 60 in there, but where he basically does a compare and contrast between a traditional method and a BRRRR method. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a snapshot of that right now. But the BRRRR method, this is what it stands for. B for buy, and then it's all R's after that. So buy, renovate, rent, refi, and repeat on there. That's what BRRRR stands for. So buy, renovate, rent, refi, and repeat. So what does that mean? So when they're buying the property, it's not in that traditional sense. They're not getting a loan on it to purchase property. Now, there are different ways you can be creative and do a BRRRR method that's not going to necessarily be the most preferred way that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. There are folks that go out there, they will get a loan, they will do a renovation off that loan, go through that process, then refi. The power of the BRRRR, and the hardest thing to do for that first purchase, is having the money to buy it all in cash up front from the beginning. Now, I know that's a daunting task to get into now, and you're going to have to, more likely if you're like me, you're going to be saving your butt off. You're going to be doing everything you can to put that money aside so that you can pay cash for that property. It is not an easy thing to do, but the hardest thing you're going to do is do that first save up process on there, and it might take a year or 2 years longer than it would have if you had done a traditional investment model. However, the power of this is going to come, and you're going to see it here in a minute. So you save up the money to buy a property. This is a property that you're going to pay cash for. Now, when you can pay cash for a property, you're out there looking for a property that nobody's going to be able to sell in the traditional market. You're looking to help solve those problems for that seller that's out there that's got this rundown property. They can't afford to take care of it. They need to get out of it. And you're looking for that win-win situation on both sides. Now, it's a win for the seller because they get out of a property that they would have no money to put into to fix up to the condition it needs to be to sell on a traditional market. You're looking for a property that more than likely a lender is not going to put a loan on at all as well. So it's going to be a heavy rehab, a heavy renovation on that property. When you find this property, you're doing all your numbers to make sure that your purchase, your renovation, everything is going to set in place. So you're setting yourself up for a win on your side also. So that way you've got the ability to pull this money back out. And we'll get to that here in a minute. And I can explain it more if you're kind of confused on this. You want to give me a call, I can definitely go through this more detail for you and help answer any questions on this, because I know it can be kind of confusing as we're going through this on this video right here without any kind of interaction. But you're going to purchase a property that you can pay cash for, and that you've got the cash already set aside for what that estimated renovation cost is going to be. Now, obviously, we're going to go through the entire process of making sure we got an inspector, make sure roofs are good. We want to make sure that if we're putting this money into the property, we've got the money to be able to do the renovation to get the after renovation value of the property. Now, we don't have any loans on this property at all right now. We're taking a property that more than likely the neighbors are hating the fact that they live near this home. You're going to be beautifying the neighborhood, which the neighbors are going to be happy about. You're also going to be raising the value of the home, which will also help raise the value of the neighbors as well. So you're doing a lot of things for the neighborhood also within this rehab. You finish the rehab, you get it set up, and this is not a flip. We're not doing that. This is a buy and hold strategy, because that's how you build wealth with real estate, is buy and hold. If you flip, you're paying all kinds of things like real estate commissions, closing costs, capital gains, all kinds of stuff that you're going to be paying on the flip side of that if you flip the home on there. But by holding it, you're going to avoid doing that. So we got our set amount of cash. We purchase the house, and then we do the renovation on it. Next, we're going to find the renter to go in. The rent, and this is part of the numbers that you're going to do beforehand, is all going to be based on what the market is providing. You're not going to try to overprice it, because then you're not going to get a renter in there. You're going to have vacancies, and that's going to be a loss of money. You're not going to price too low, because you're also going to be looking at what your cash flow is coming out of that as well. So then you're going to rent it. During this time frame, we've got what's called a seasoning period that happens for most lenders. Most lenders, you're looking at a seasoning period of about 4 months before you can refi a property. Now, it sounds strange saying a refi because there's no loan on the property to begin with, but it's just a technical term for a property you already own and refinancing it. So technically, you're financing it out of pocket right now. Next, what you're going to look at doing is a refi with the lender. Now, if it's an investment property, once again, they're only going to let you take out typically about 75%, and that's what we're going to shoot for, loan to value on the value of the property. Now, if you did your numbers correctly and you did your valuation, you utilize a realtor, utilize all the assets and things that you have available to look at this, you should know approximately what your value of your property is going to be with after the renovation, doing the proper renovations. Now you're doing the refi, the appraiser is going to come through, they're going to appraise the property, and you're going to be able to pull 75% out. Now, I'm going to use simple numbers on this. You're not going to see really any home out here for $100,000, but I just want to be able to drive this point home so that you can see what I'm talking about. So let's say we're looking at a house that's after renovation value would be $100,000. This place was completely run down. You found that you were able to pick it up for about $50,000. You put $25,000 in repairs on this property, got a renter in it. The renter's going to be able to pay your mortgage on a 30-year note on this property at today's interest rates on that as well. You know that you're going to have some kind of a cash flow coming out of that. And then you're going to do your refi. You're going to pull your 75% right back out, which is exactly the money you put into it. Even if it's not, as you kind of get into this and you get more experience, you might not be able to get everything you put into it back out, but you're going to be able to get very close on that at the very least. If you can pull everything out, then everything you're going to make on top of it is just going to be icing on the cake as you continue to look at this investment style moving forward. What you've done is you just pulled all your capital back out, and now you can go and you can find another property to do the same thing with. Now, if you've got a lender with a seasoning period of 4 months on there, you're looking at 3 properties a year with that same chunk of change that you can continue to go into. That's 3 a year. Now let's rewind back to the traditional method really quick. The traditional method, you're saving your money, you're saving your money, you're saving money. More than likely, you might be able to do maybe 2 properties a year if you're putting down 20 to 25%. A lot of folks are only going to be 1, and that's them scrimping and scramping, just scraping everything up that they can within that process, and they're really cutting down their lifestyle. They're cutting down so many different means on that. all the time, and they could use that additional cash flow that's coming out from that rent. If it is, I would definitely suggest having some set aside for emergency funds for like broken utilities, broken HVAC systems, any kind of things that are going on, plus vacancies that could happen in there as well, or evictions that have to go on. Always having that set aside. But once you get that, then you can start snowballing that and probably start getting to where in about 10 years, you might be getting 3-4 properties at a time. Now, if we look at that compared to the BRRRR method, it takes longer to get to the point where you can purchase a property. However, once you are at that point, you're then at least 3 properties a year at that same value. Plus you're getting cash flow from the property that you just refied and you've got a renter in, so you're getting cash flow back from that also, and you let that snowball. You're already at the 3 a year starting from that first year you're able to start investing. And if it takes you 2 years to get to that point, then it takes you 2 years. So on the traditional method, if that person's buying 1 property a year and it takes them until they've been doing this for 5 years before they can move to 2 properties and then maybe 3 properties in year 7 or probably year 10 at that point, you're looking at the number of properties they have. So if it takes them 5 years to get to that point, they've got 5 properties in 5 years that the traditional method's doing. On the BRRRR side, it took them 2 years to get to that first property on there. At the end of the 3rd year, they've got 3. They're already even with the traditional because he's got 3 and 3 on that. On the 4th year of the BRRRR, they've got 3 more properties. Now they've got 6. They've doubled it on there. The traditional method's got 4 properties on there. At the end of year 5, the BRRRR folks have 9 properties. The traditional guy has 5 properties at the end of year 5. They've already almost doubled what that traditional one has, and it's going to continue to snowball and build off of that very rapidly. That's the way you build wealth within the real estate side. Now that's a very simplistic way to look at stuff, and it obviously doesn't go into each person's individual requirements or what they've got going on within their lifestyles and what their focus is and what their goals are as well. So just know that's in the perfect world scenario on that as well. But I just wanted to kind of introduce those 2 different things to you. And if you're looking at getting into real estate investing, that's what kind of gets me excited, is talking about and thinking about those different types of items on that. Now, I also want to caveat and go back, because some of you might be talking about like, oh, well, James talked about the risk in the traditional. What about the risk in the BRRRR on there, because he's still pulling loans out for it? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Here's the thing on the BRRRR side. So you're still going to have the exact same risk once you have the property. It's got a loan out on it. You've got a renter in there and you're getting cash flow back. More than likely, you'll probably be getting a little bit more cash flow back, but let's say you're not. Let's say you're breaking even, getting the exact same cash flow you would on the traditional method as you would on the BRRRR side. What you do have is you've got a lot more capital in play with the cash that you're putting forth on each BRRRR as it goes through. You've got tops. If you just bought a property, you've got 4 months until you get that money back out if you start having problems with a renter that's not able to pay on there, or a COVID situation where they get a rent moratorium and they don't have to come in and pay rent on there as well. You've got 4 months until you've got enough cash to purchase the whole house outright on there to be able to supplement and have those emergency funds set into place to give you that buffer for that risk that could potentially be there. So it's still risk, but it's a lot less risk, and it's a smarter way to get your money to work for you also. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video as we kind of went through those 2 different methods, and we'll continue on this investment series so you guys can hopefully learn more and more and get more and more excited about this, just like I am. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, comments, whatever you've got, please send them to me. You can call, text me at 719-266-2725. You can also email me at info@jdmret.net. I would love to be your local real estate agent. I'd love to be your local expert. So anything, it doesn't have to be real estate related, please don't hesitate to ask. Let me know what those questions are and I will get them right back to you. I look forward to seeing you guys next time.